Hey y'all, I hope everyone is doing well today on this Sunday morning still. Um, the date of this video is July 9th in 2023. I don't know when you might see it, um, especially if you haven't seen other videos. I'm not quite sure how YouTube is doing right now with putting things out there in a timely manner for people to see it. But I wanted to share with you, all you gardeners out there, that there is a new invasive species to be on the watch for. Particularly, I know it's happening in Minnesota. I'm not sure about other places, but I think that it would be a good idea just to keep an eye out just in case. It's wild parsnips. Now, parsnips were something that I hadn't become accustomed to until I moved to Minnesota and started doing some personal chef work and preparing foods, for other people. Parsnips, it looks like a white carrot, basically, but it is a root vegetable. It's out there. It's causing a little bit of trouble. Um, it can cause serious skin burns. We all know about poison oak and poison ivy causing skin burns, but wild parsnips apparently can cause skin burns too. And right now in the state of Minnesota, it's considered an invasive species, so it's spreading like wildfire. But wild parsnips is being called a toxic plant. It was first discovered in Minnesota in the 1990s, which is, around the time when I moved here to the state. And many people enjoy, doing their outdoor gardening and everything, and they get a lot out of that. But just so you know, I'm going to attach a photo as my thumbnail. I'm going to try to attach a photo of wild parsnips so that you can have an idea how they look. But they can grow to around 4 feet high. Honestly, the part that grows out of the ground looks a lot like a dill plant to me. But you just really want to be careful working with those types of plants. Hopefully you're wearing some kind of garden gloves. I love getting my hands in the soil and being connected with the earth that way, but under the circumstances, I don't want to be broke out on my arm feeling miserable and itchy, because touching it is not going to cause immediate injury. Like I said, it looks kind of like a dill plant on the top. It looks like the flowering part that comes up out of the ground. But it's if that sap from that plant gets in your skin, and then your skin is exposed to sunlight, it becomes like a recipe for disaster. You can kind of think of like vampires don't go out in the sun because they don't want to get burned. They don't, they avoid garlic. They don't want to be out in the sun. Well, this actually can cause some significant skin damage. So, where they grow. They usually grow in low, bushy areas like ditches, abandoned fields. Like for all you backyard foraging people, you might want to think about that. And if you haven't got the backyard foraging book yet, this is not really an advertisement. I'm not getting paid by anybody, but I would highly suggest that you get that backyard foraging book, because as things change, it kind of reminds me of the Depression when people had to walk home. I'd heard the story from an older woman growing up in the Depression, and she was walking home and like literally pulling the dandelions up out of the ground to put in her purse because she was going to use it for a salad when she got home. So if if things get that bad and it's SHTF, you might find yourself wanting to pluck up some things off the side of the road. But it's important to know what you're putting in your body so that you're not causing any harm to yourself, and what you're even plucking out of the ground, because, like I said, you don't want that liquid to get on your skin and cause you to break out in a super rash, and then it starts to burn because the sun is hitting it. You don't want to have it in your hand and then end up touching your face or anything, because it can be a pretty bad situation for you. But just so you know, this plant does not thrive in the shade. It likes to be in sunny areas. It's going to grow where there's ditches, low brush areas, abandoned fields, along the edges of forests are common places where you might just see it. The first year, it just looks like a leafy clump on the ground, and then the next year, the stem starts to come up, and then the flowers and blooms come on it, and then later they die. But it does look a lot to me like it looks like a dill plant. So I am going to use a picture of it as my thumbnail for this video, and I'd love for you guys to leave in the comments section if you think it looks like a dill plant too. But this plant is really sly. It can slowly invade any area, and if you leave it unchecked for a while, it will speed up and it will just spread all over. And when you try to remove it, make sure you got protective gloves, some long protective gloves, and when you're done, pull those gloves from the inside out. I might have to do a video show you how to do that. And wash off everything after use, because you don't want the oils from the plant to still be on that glove and go back later to pick it up for something else, and then you've contaminated yourself picking it up the wrong way. Some people use herbicides, but if you're trying to grow everything natural, I can understand that. But I just wanted to let you know about this, because it is a serious issue, at least in the state of Minnesota, and wherever you are in America or around the world, I highly suggest that you keep an eye out on that plant. You can report that you found it to the Department of Natural Resources, and spread the word. Let friends, families, other folks know that might not be aware of it, especially if you are in Minnesota, like I said. Thank you for joining me. I've got dinner already started, so it'll be done by dinner time. I put it in the crock pot because, of course, it's hot outside, and I don't want to be slaving over the stove in the kitchen. So I'm making a vegetable masala, a nice combination of veggies, carrots and kale and everything, just a little bit of everything, garlic and all of that. Got my seasonings and everything in, and I just have the lid on and cooking it on low. Fresh, healthy vegetables. It's a way to go. And then doing it in the crock pot, I can make enough that I can package some to have for like lunch or dinner tomorrow, and some I could put away for another day. But thanks for joining me, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.